Hello, welcome to week 5. Hope you've had a good weekend. It's a really great evening here in Indiana, so I decided to record this evening on my back porch since that's where I was working anyway. Hope you've had a great weekend. I've really enjoyed your work over the last week, particularly in talking about assessments for learning, assessments of learning, and then kind of that one addition that several, I think was maybe a new term for several, the assessment as learning. So we're going to jump into Module 5. One of the things that I wanted to highlight is a couple of comments made by Lauren and Morgan, just because I felt like they did a great job of really hitting some of the key points from the last week. One of the things I liked about what Lauren said, and several of you made similar comments about, one of the things about formative assessments or assessments for learning is we're able to, for students to make adjustments and changes to their assignments as they continue to learn. And that's the beauty. Not only are we able to make adjustments in how we teach, but we know that our students are able to make adjustments in what they're doing through the feedback that we're providing them. And Morgan gave several examples of ways that she uses formative assessments in her classroom. And then Morgan also shared some very similar examples from her classroom of formative assessments, and I think the piece that she highlighted that I wanted to highlight too was just getting to that self-monitoring, and that's where we really got to that assessment as learning, knowing that if students are able to self-monitor, they're able to kind of be in charge of monitoring their own progress, that can be a whole nother level of assessment awareness that students are able to have that can guide them in their work. So this week you've got 2 videos, Carol Dweck's Growth versus Fixed Mindset, we'll talk about that a little bit, and then Rick DeFore talking about PLCs. And I wanted to go into just a little bit of those videos before you watch them. Let me move my picture here. So Fixed versus Growth Mindset is probably not a new concept for you as we think about growth mindset, really thinking about that as a springboard for growth, and thinking about going back to a video from a couple weeks ago where the lady that was presenting, Rita, I think was her name, was talking about grading a student and giving them a 2 out of 20 and how excited she was to give them that 2. Because those were 2 things that they didn't know before they took that assignment. It was a springboard for growth and really stretching the students' abilities. One of the things I like when you watch the Carol Dweck video, she talks about the grade of not yet and how important that is for us as teachers as we think about assessing our students, that looking at assessments as grades of not yet. They don't yet have it. What do I need to do to get them there? She also gives 3 pointers, 3 things that we should focus on as teachers: praising wisely, rewarding the process and not just the answer, and then having that growth mindset for all learners. All means all. So how are we really making sure that all of our students are growing? They may not have it yet, but what do we need to do to get them there? So I really liked Carol Dweck's video. You'll also see this week one of the assignments is to do a fixed versus growth mindset quick survey that will give you an idea of kind of where you fall in that continuum, and some pointers or some insights into how you view growth. Finally, the second video is Rick DeFore, and I've been impressed. Several of you in the discussion post this week, or even in your emails to me about your work that you're doing for your clinical log, have referenced PLCs. And you've probably done some study on Rick DeFore, who's really one of the leaders, has been one of the leaders in the PLC improvement efforts across the country. And so he really looks at PLCs and suggests that all PLCs, or effective PLCs, should have these 4 questions. What do we want all students to know and be able to do? How are we going to know if they've learned it? How will we respond when some students don't learn it? And how will we extend the learning for those who have already met that standard? Those 4 key questions are critical. And then, as you think about where you are on the PLC journey, one thing that I have found is that a lot of groups in schools refer to themselves as PLC, or administrators will say we're doing PLCs. But if you really look at DeFore's work, in many cases, they're really not. They might be a grade level meeting. They might be doing really good work for kids and for teachers, but they're not a PLC. And so one of the things that I think is really important is that we grow as teacher leaders in truly understanding what are PLCs and the value that they can play. So obviously that leadership and collaboration is critical for that to happen. One of the things that you'll see in DeFore's video is really emphasizing that guaranteed curriculum. Here on this visual, they reference that as standards and instruction. In an effective PLC, you have to have a guaranteed curriculum. You have to all be teaching those standards so that you can have those conversations and be held accountable and hold your students accountable for meeting those standards. So without that, you're not having a PLC. And then finally, the point of this course, that data and evidence. So he'll talk about common assessments. How do we devise a plan for intervention? Of course, this is a short video. I think it's 4 or 5 minutes, so he doesn't go into much detail. But hopefully this can be a springboard for you and connect some of the other information in this class. I love PLCs. The district that I was in prior to my current district has probably the strongest district-wide vision for PLCs that I've ever seen. And common assessments, guaranteed curriculum, they were truly functioning as PLCs to the point where they didn't even do outside professional development, very rarely, because they had PLCs built in every week where teachers were collaborating and supporting each other and meeting their needs of their students. So there was no need to go out and gain strategies from a professional development session, because professional development was embedded in everything that they did. And that school district is now the #1 school district in the state of Indiana when it comes to our standardized testing scores. And they attribute a lot of their success to really, really strong PLC process. And so I encourage those of you that are doing PLCs in your district to really get into DeFore's work and look at and challenge yourself in these different areas, and how is your PLC functioning, and is it truly a PLC, or is it serving a different purpose? So this week you have 4 assignments. A discussion post on is in Canvas for you to post and reply to. There is a growth mindset survey that I referenced before, and then a post about that. That link for that survey is at the bottom of the page. It's kind of buried a little bit, but you'll find it there. And then in order to get your results, you will have to enter in your name and email to get the results for the survey and be able to post about that. Assignment 3 is a devotional post, and then assignment 4 is really looking at the advantages and disadvantages of fixed growth mindset and getting you thinking along those lines. That's it. Please let me know if you have any questions. We are over halfway done with this course, so it's amazing to me how fast these courses go. We've just got a couple of more weeks before we will be wrapping up. So please let me know if you need anything or have any questions. I really have enjoyed seeing all of the conversations and the growth that we've been having over the last couple of weeks. Have a great week.